Is Ireland ready for the GDPR?
Yeah, as I announced in my talk there, we have been getting ready for the GDPR for the last 3 or 4 years. We've massively increased the number of staff that we have. We've over 100 staff in situ now. We'll have over 140 by the end of the year. We've brought in lawyers, technologists, investigatory and communications specialists. Aside from getting ready on the recruitment front, we're also restructuring and preparing our processes for GDPR because, as I mentioned in my talk, the GDPR is a massive root to branch transformation for data protection authorities. It's significantly changing the types of functions, powers and tasks that we have, and of course it's also requiring us to cooperate and render consistent our application of this new harmonised law for Europe. So a huge amount of preparation. We will be ready. The new Irish Data Protection Act has not yet been enacted, but it's anticipated it will be enacted before the 25th of May, so some last minute preparations to tie down when we see what's in that in terms of all of the provisions. But we will be ready because we have the right team in place now that's flexible and agile to deal with GDPR.
And what would you say will be the biggest challenge maybe as well for companies?
So I think the big challenge for companies is in becoming truly accountable under GDPR. There are lots of enumerated aspects of accountability set out under GDPR in terms of new principles like data minimization, privacy by design and default, the appointment of data protection officers, the requirement to have systems in place to deal expeditiously with the exercise of data subject rights, requirements to make notifications within 72 hours. So there are lots of challenges for organisations. This is a big change in the law. Even though a lot of people cast it as an upgrade to the 95 directive, I think it's a lot more than that when you consider the type of accountability it's placing on the shoulders of organisations. So it needs a plan, it needs budget and it needs resources and time to get ready.
And what would your advice be for other data protectors? What has to be done now?
In terms of the data controllers, the organisations themselves. So many of the organisations, all of the data controllers here at this conference have been preparing for the last 2 years. They're really into the final touches. I think for any smaller organisations that haven't engaged fully with it yet, the first thing they need to do is what the EU Commissioner for Justice, Vera Jourova, outlined earlier. They need to get familiar with what types of personal data they're collecting and processing in their organisations, and then they need to do a gap and risk analysis in terms of how they're treating that data versus what the GDPR demands. So that's what they need to do quickly.